Greetings ladies and gents, welcome back to the Craft Hammer. I'm your host Stefan, and in today's video we're going to be looking at the March tournament recap, and technically the first tournament that we've been to in 2025, the results that we had, and I guess the thoughts going forward when it comes to future tournaments. Now, for those of you who may have seen the previous tournament recaps that I've done before, the general gist is that we go to a monthly 1000 point tournament, and we're going to bring a variety of different lists that we have models hopefully built and definitely as close as possible to fully painted, and then we're going to give you our thoughts of how things went, maybe some things that we may have to change or some ideas going forward, with the intent that hopefully in 2025, so this year, we are going to go and start a 2000 point tournament, which is also the main reason as to why I started to increase the models for my Black Templars so that I could get more options for that 2000 point tournament. Now, if you remember my previous tournament recap, I did mention that I wanted to start the very first tournament of 2025 with my Space Marines and of course the new models that I got for the Black Templar theme specifically. And of course, as you may have seen from the Pile of Shame video, I did of course have a lot of models that needed to get painted and built, which didn't quite end up as I wanted. Hence why for March I decided, since the majority of my knights are already fully painted, let's just keep it easy, focus on building and painting those Space Marines while I go to the tournament with the Chaos Knights. Now, the hope is that hopefully in April we will have a Space Marine army painted so that we can go at that tournament with those. But for now, let's talk about how the Chaos Knights went. And ironically enough, because of the points update that just happened and the errata, the Space Marine list was actually no longer possible to be built and painted because it went over the 1000 point limit. So I did have to actually adjust what I will be painting, and things might be a bit slow again when it comes to getting it all finished for April. But anyway, let's talk about the actual Chaos Knights tournament. It wasn't too bad. I definitely had a lot of fun in this tournament, and there was definitely some interesting things that I learned. First and foremost, I did win 2 matches and I did lose 1. The very first one, which technically the tournament had an uneven amount of people, so I did actually manage to play the TO for my first game. I guess rules wise I had an immediate win just so that they would push me through the next round. I did actually play that game and I did manage to win it. So even though rules wise I would have won it anyways just so that the tournament continues, I did actually win it because of the knights themselves and how they played against the Tau. This is definitely one of the surprising things that I've seen when it comes to this Chaos Knight list. Every time I've played Tau with them, I've somehow managed to get a win. I guess it's a mixture of being able to take a lot of the damage and also maneuver in such a way that it takes away some of their bonuses when it comes to moving around really quick. Now, list wise, what you see is 1 Abominant, 1 Stalker, and then 3 Brigands. I kept it really simple just so that I get as much firepower as possible, and I always want to play an Abominant, hence why he is part of the list, even though technically I could have probably went and got 2 more War Dogs as part of this list. The Abominant always plays its part every time people try and focus him because he is a big and scary monster, and then they forget that the War Dogs do a lot of damage. Now in this one, the TO did actually focus on the big guy just to take out as much damage from him as possible, but I did manage to take him out with a lot of these War Dogs that did a lot of damage just because those Gatling guns and those Meltas really hit hard and there's a lot of shots there. Now my second game was a bit unfortunate because I was playing Tyranids, which should have been fine since I do have quite a number of blast weapons and a lot of hits when it comes to the Gatling cannon, but somehow they had this interesting Tyranid model that had a huge cannon. I can't remember the specific one, but I'm sure that if you play Tyranids you know the one that I'm talking about, which pretty much one-shot my Stalker, and then that flank really suffered, which was on the left hand side, since he only got I think 1 round of shooting at some zone tropes, I think they're called. So he managed to do a tiny bit of damage there, but he never got into melee combat. And then because he got destroyed, the brigand that was following up with him did also get caught into a lot of combat where he got bogged down and he was no longer as effective as he could have been. The Tournamet definitely managed to stop my advance. It was definitely an interesting game considering I did in fact feel confident since I was able to destroy a lot of the smaller models that they had, and I was able to get a lot of the chaff out of the way and some of the other hard-hitting models. Once that model with the big cannon managed to destroy the stalker, that whole flank really suffered. And then of course this is a game with objectives, so he managed to get a lot more points because I wasn't able to contest him on the left hand side. So that was an unfortunate thing that happened, and I guess I should have been a bit more cautious when it came up to moving the stalker through the no man's land and making sure that he was always behind some cover, which I did try at the beginning, but the intent was that from second round onwards, hopefully he would have gotten into some melee combat and there would no longer have been need for, hiding behind any ruins. Now my third match was in fact with the same Tau player that I managed to play, I believe it was October or November. I think it was actually October when I managed to win 3 out of 3 with these knights, except at that time it was a different list and I was just, testing out some things. Technically this is a more refined list than that, since I really wanted to try out as many brigands as possible, and then of course I chose the stalker with the Melta to be as hard hitting as possible. So even though this list is technically more refined than the one that I won in October, I did manage to still play for my last game, similar as before, the Tau player that I played in October, although his list is of course different this time. And I guess it was a mixture of the dice really being on my side and making sure that I kept up with the dynamic play that was happening, making sure that I was counteracting all the movement and targeting that he was doing so that I could get as many points as possible. But honestly, I think it came down to only 4 or 5 points difference, which he could have managed to beat me if he had finished off. I think there was just one model, one brigand left that was in melee combat on the last no man's land objective that was still working, since I think the other 2 had disappeared. And if he had managed to push me off that objective, he would have managed to get the last, I think, 15 points, which would have obviously given him the win. But honestly, it was really down to the dice just not being in his favor on that last section. And I have to say, I did take a lot more damage this time than when I did in October, which all the other models were destroyed apart from that last brigand. So his list definitely hurt a lot more this time, but somehow I just managed to pull it off. Now let's talk about the future. You obviously know that I have the new Space Marine models that I wanted to make a Black Templar themed list. Of course, there is a lot to do. I will be doing another update for the Pile of Shame, which will obviously include this project. So we'll see if I manage to get a fully painted 1000 point army for the April tournament. That is the aspiration. Hopefully I manage to get it all done. If not, I will probably play a Custodes list for April, I guess. And then hopefully by May I'll have the 1000 points ready, which shouldn't be a too tall order. That is 2 months away to get to May. It's possible that I might be able to get it done by April, but if not, I will play some Custodes, and then obviously in May we will do 1000 points of Space Marines, and then we'll see when we manage to get 2000 points for them. It will take a while. That will probably be double the models, and I might flip some things in and out, so we'll see. For now, I hope you've enjoyed this little recap that I've done. Hope you've enjoyed looking at these wonderful Chaos Knights. I had a blast with them at the tournament. They were very fun to play, and of course it's always fun when you don't have to think of too many rules and too many models to move around the table. So for now, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, comment down below, like this video, and until next time, take care folks.